Hello, my name is Jorb. I love gear. I'm back so soon with the UDO Super 6 because there's been an update. The video I put up, I think a week ago when this goes out, I gave a lot of feedback about little firmware changes I would like to see, and a lot of them are in this newest update. So pretty much immediately after I put that video back up, I heard from a few different folks who work for UDO Audio. They said, thanks for the feedback, and we've got an update you might like to see. So I understand the frustration of I complained about these things that got fixed right away. So I'm more than happy to put up a video talking about what is different and what is better. This is version 0.52. My first video was on 0.30, and I'm just going to you're going to watch me update it now. We'll step through everything. I'll talk about whatever behavior has changed, or I'll actually just show you how to get to a new feature. I like doing update videos like this. I don't need to plan that far ahead. All I need to do is step through these notes that somebody else did for me. So I've already downloaded it. You can get it from udioaudio.com/support. Let me pull up the update instructions. I have updated once already. They sent me a version of the firmware that was pre-release. I pointed out a few bugs. They changed them, and now this is the version that everybody gets from the website. I downloaded it the same way everybody else would, just to be sure it's the exact version that's getting released today. And if there's any bugs in the release version, I'm comfortable talking about that and putting that on camera because it's out for everybody. So, before carrying out the update, close all applications on the host PC. I'm not going to do that because I'm recording my screen. This just to show you how it works. Check to see if you need to carry out this update. Right when you turn on, you will get some things illuminating. So that was B, D, and G for me. That's the version, what firmware version you're on, which is kind of cool. But into the actual meat of this, power off the Super 6 and wait a few seconds while holding down the shift button. Power on your Super 6 and continue to hold the shift button. LEDs will cycle and the shift button will continue blinking. Release the shift button. Connect the Super 6 to your computer. I have a USB cable tossed asunder. There it is. Can you see that? And we have one drive up here. This is the Super 6 boot. Delete 0.30 bin or older. I have this pre-release version, so it's a different name than you might see. Delete this bin file. Sure, I will delete it. Copy the firmware from this folder. So let me pull that up. Copy. And paste. Here's our progress, little progress bar. To the boot disk. If asked if you want to copy these files without properties, choose yes. Okay, I didn't see that. Make sure the file transfers are complete. Do not power off or unplug during this transfer. And once it's done, disconnect the USB cable. Okay. Alrighty, my transfer is done. I've just moved that in. Now I turn this off. And I wait a few seconds, presumably. And I turn it back on. It's figuring its stuff out with the new firmware. And then our final boot, C, E, and F, which is good. That's what they described in the manual. Great. We've got noise. So I'm going to step through these in the order they list them. Unfortunately, I don't have any way to show you MPE. I wish I did. I don't have any MPE compatible keyboards, but you can have expression per voice and send it. Wish I could show you. It's different from Poly Aftertouch, which is also included. Delay freeze. Connect a twin pedal switch to the sustain pedal input or use a stereo splitter. Tip for sustain and ring for freeze to add delay freeze. Alternatively, connect the sustain pedal one click into the sustain pedal input. So I have a sustain pedal plugged in right now. And you know how that works. If I'm holding it, notes hang out. But this new feature, delay freeze, let me turn up a delay sound. A little less feedback. There are two, well, I don't want to say competing standards, but different ways of doing sustain pedals. And the Super 6 does identify which type you have plugged in when you turn it on. Normally closed or normally open. Normally closed means there's normally a connection between the tip and the sleeve. And when you press the pedal in, you break that connection. Okay, and it'll do that for the sustain pedal and the delay freeze separately. So what I'm going to do is plug in this splitter. This is a TRS to dual TS. And so one gets the ring and the sleeve, and one gets the tip and the sleeve from these 3 connections. So let me plug that into the back here. And I will plug my sustain pedal into the tip, as it would be, and I have this. I made this, I think, for the rubber neck, but it is just a toggling switch that goes out to a 1/4 inch. So let's get those in. It knows the starting point of those controls. So plugged into the tip, my sustain pedal is working. I get these out in front of the panel so you guys can see them. But here, if I bring in a delayed sound, hear how quickly that fades away. If I have something in the delay buffer while I press this foot switch, it stays there forever, and you can play over it without adding new sounds to the delay. And you can still manipulate it in time. What if I do something like that? I let that sustain. I think that's quite cool. Let me fold those out of the way. Cool. I think that's a cool thing. It is a little bit, there is some like trickiness to, especially like, oh, let me try that right now, plugging and unplugging sustain pedals. Anyway, that sort of second behavior they describe, plugging it in halfway. Do I have my demonstration jack laying around? Their sort of second option they give you there for plugging in 1 click. I'll show you what they mean because I think it's a little confusing. This is a TRS 1/4 inch jack. That is what I imagine is quite similar to something like this, is what's in that sustain pedal jack on the other side of that sustain pedal jack. And when they say plug it in 1 click, normally when you're plugged all the way in, those are where the connections are made. So the tip and the sleeve will open or close their connection between the tip and the sleeve, or all 3 of them, depending. But when they say plug it in 1 click, you only plug in this far. And so then you're connecting the ring and sleeve of this TRS cable. Does that make sense? On this specific one I've got, it feels like 2 clicks. Once, and you can see I'm kicking up top, 2 clicks. And so then when you make the connection between those 2 pins, these 2 are what make the delay freeze, and these 2 are what make the sustain. So a cool feature, an implementation that is nice, and it's interesting to know that they were ready for that sustain pedal to be a second input. And I think the delay freeze is really, really cool. And I'm sure there are 2 pedal foot switches that have a TRS cable at the end of them anyway. So very, very cool. So a cool addition. I'm happy to see it. I will scroll down. So the first thing I wanted to see changed, and I'm glad it is. I'm going to go back to initialized patch. I don't know that I haven't that I had moved off of it at all. But improved responsiveness of all controls. If that parameter smoothing is still here, it's far reduced. In my first video I showed there was a pretty serious delay, especially if you were moving quick. That's not here at all anymore. I'm very, very glad that's different. Okay, binaural and 12-voice PWM on DDS2 is something else I noted, and something else I'm very glad has changed. So if I am on binaural, and I'm on the pulse width modulation mode here of DDS2, and I get the LFO1 knocked out of phase, and we send LFO1 to the pulse width modulation. We can hear it's different in our left and our right. I love this. I think this sounds excellent. that's a really clear way to hear it. And I know that the desktop is like reduced movement on all these faders. I would love if the left-right phase was exactly inverted at 50%, not at 60 up here. But we'll take what we can get. That's great. That sounds just gigantic. Alrighty, moving on. Polyphonic LFO2. So I will initialize our patch again. We are right where we started. LFO2 is this one. I'm going to put it on free and apply it to the filter with no delay. How much? A little bit. A little bit more. So that's our rate of our LFO. If LFO2 has been modulated, now has a random phase. So if I do mod assign note to, and I'll hold it and then change rate here and then turn it up a little bit. So as I go up the keyboard, no, note is actually note number. Okay, so as we go up through the 12 voices, we'll speed up LFO2 so they can all be different. I'm going to make this more dramatic, that a little lower, and it a little slower. A little faster. Great. What if I also send Aftertouch there, and maybe Aftertouch slows it down? I want it to do that, but a little less. Very cool. You hear how the LFOs for each voice are at a different point and a different rate. I like that. It is in... And this sounds like a critique. I don't mean it to be that way. It's another option for very busy sounds on the Super 6. Cool. Okay. Direct mod wheel assignment, desktop only, mod wheel. Let me go to another init patch. Mod wheel input can now be directly mapped to controls rather than force control to level LFO2, which is a great change. Press and hold LFO2 mode here, and then move a parameter. Oops, could you guys see that? If I move cutoff here, how about I move resonance? If I move cutoff, just like any mod parameter. So now I have control with the mod wheel over whatever parameter. That's awesome. I'm really happy to see that changed as well. You know what I really love to send the mod wheel to is the delay time. So let's get these all up somewhere. Love playing with that. Polyphonic Aftertouch from capable MIDI controllers. I cannot show you. I wish that I could. Mod Matrix Clear convenience function for desktop only. Haha. Push the mod amount encoder when in mod assign mode, which I am in mod assign mode. And I press this, and there goes the assignments I had made. That is great. I'm happy to see that working now as well. Push the mod amount encoder when a source is highlighted. So I don't want DDS1 or DDS2 to modulate anything. That's cool. I like that we can do that. Can we do the same for destinations as well? Yes, we can. I don't want anything to control LFO1. Cool. I'm just going to bring it up now. That's another weird little bug. Once in a while, I'll have a single key press trigger 2 notes. And my MIDI controller is only sending out 1 note value, I promise you. That's 2. That's definitely 2. And it's not just because I'm in binaural. hear that. If I turn up drift. Very, very strange. Let me go to a different octave range. Okay, random notes are triggering 2 voices. How very exciting. Let's move on. Random LFO improvement. LFO 1 in the random mode with the once or reset modes will trigger a new random value every time. So why don't I assign this to the filter? Cool, I triggered sample and hold like the Odyssey. I quite like that. And then some changes to MIDI start stop for the sequencer. I don't have a good way to test this hooked up right now. If this is important to you, I'm sure you know it's important to you. But more options for transport control and sort of MIDI filtering in a way is always very, very handy. Shift mode convenience function to toggle in shift mode press and release. To access secondary function of a patch-specific parameter, press and hold shift. Okay. So let's go into an init patch. Okay. So if I have a note, I'm holding it, and I hold shift, and I move a shift parameter, once I let go of shift, it gets me out of shift mode. Instead of pressing it and then getting in. I like that a bunch. So if I hold shift and change, drift a little bit. That's fast. Nice, another great change. And then at the very bottom, a short list of bug fixes. None of these are things I had experienced. None of these specifically are things I had noted or experienced, which is great. I did show you that bug. I don't know if that was in there before, if that's just my unit. Actually, there it is. Where I'm having single key presses trigger 2 voices. Guess you're that phasing. But otherwise, this is a really, really good update, and it's a lot of things I brought up. I'm sure I wasn't the first person to bring up a lot of them, but I find it reassuring to know for sure that UDO is listening to feedback and they're actively developing things. Yes, I found another bug. I'm triggering 2 voices sometimes. I'm going to try this with another MIDI controller to make sure that that isn't part of my problem here when I'm triggering 2 voices at once. But if it happens with another MIDI controller, I'll leave that in. This is a public release and there's a bug, so I'm going to show you. And in some ways, that is exactly what I want to show you. I want to show you there are 2 sides to something being active development. There is opportunity for feedback to be heard and implemented, which is amazing and very, very exciting. And something Alex Ball said in the comments of my first video, just think of where it goes from here. I totally agree with that. Think of how much this Super 6 will be able to do when the firmware is finished. And it is going to be extraordinary, but it by no means is finished yet, and things are actively changing for the better, to be clear. So if you're impressed by it already, damn, will you continue to be impressed by it. They'll keep improving things, giving people more options, but also means that things are going to change. And it's important to realize when you do buy this that it is not finished software. For better or for worse. Better because you have the opportunity to provide feedback, and that feedback will absolutely be heard. Everybody from Super 6 was responsive to me, especially I recognize that I have a platform, but also flipping through the forums, responsive to everybody else. And I'm sure a lot of these new functionality started as feedback from users. So anyway, UDO, very well done. I'm happy I got to try it before my loaner is up. I would love to keep doing these update videos for you, but I do not have the scratch to buy one of these for myself right now. Maybe soon. Anyway, UDO, you probably saw this video before anybody else, so I can report the bug of the 2 voices triggering. But there you go. Everybody who wants, thanks for watching. If this helped you install, if this showed you a new feature, I'm happy to have done that. So there you go. My name's Jorb. I love gear. The Super 6 is getting better all the time. Thanks for watching. Cheers and so long.